Mutations. They're without question one of the most fundamental mechanics in ARK, not least because of the huge advantages they can provide in creature stats, and lest we forget add a cheeky new colour to them. But for a wealth of players they are overlooked, perhaps because it can be a complicated system to understand, but should be imprinted into every single player, and especially so now with the introduction of Mutagen. So old or new to ARK, follow me as we break down how to provide mutations and more importantly, ensure you keep mutating your creatures. So let's start with the basics, and it's simply summed up as tame, tame, tame. Regardless of the creature you want to mutate, you want to ensure you have the best possible stats to begin with first. By stats we of course mean the variety of points a creature possesses per level, and it's important you understand this before mutating. With each tamed creature, they will hold a variety of hidden stat points that make up each stat, defined more easily by the level of the creature. An example to make is a 120 dino will hold 119 stat points, each defining its health, stamina, oxygen, food, weight, melee and movement speed. A guide for taming and stat point calculations could be worth a video of its own. However, for now we'll overlook that and simply advise tame as many max creatures as you possibly can. And certainly go check out Dodo decks to help calculating both stats and taming requirements, link in the description. With most creatures, you're of course looking for health and melee first and foremost, but certainly don't overlook stamina, a game-changing stat in certain scenarios, depending on your creature of course. So keep on taming, and once you've had enough, keep on taming until you're confident you have the very best health creature, the very best melee creature, and possibly stamina creature. For this guide and to keep it simple, we'll stick with just health and melee for now, picking our best creature in both, and using one of the go-to creatures for mutations nowadays, the Shadow Mane, owed to my most recent vote and a fantastic choice at that for all-around arcing. Now before we begin mutating, we can opt to include a little boost for our creature stats by feeding them Mutagen. However, you will need a lot and can only be farmed on Gem Part 2, which I've got a guide for and I'll leave a link in the description. Once fed its desired amount of Mutagen, your creature will improve its stats and can indeed be bred to babies. However, only tamed creatures can apply the Mutagen stats, so this is really your only time to use it. Bred creatures can be fed Mutagen as well, but will not carry these stats further. Once done, your objective now is to breed your best stat creatures together to combine the best stats from both, which can and will take a long while. You have a 55% chance of inheriting the stronger stat of each parent, and with 6 stats it's entirely possible to get the very best stat of each, but it may take a good while to do so. Now, remembering that stat points define levels with each baby, it's very easy to determine if you have a winner by its level. And even more, you may get lucky and get their wasted stat points hidden in movement speed or oxygen to improve a particular stat even further, meaning you could get an offspring that's better than your best tamed health creature, for example. And this will be your first goal, breeding, breeding and breeding until you have both a female and male with identical stats, each carrying the best health and melee from their parents. Throughout this stage, always make sure your babies don't have a mutation. Whilst it may be great to get one so early on, it will affect your mutation stage, so keep these to one side to maybe breeding later on. Now you've obtained your perfect clean stat breeding pair, discard any others that got you to this point. Keep them or otherwise, but you certainly don't want to include them for the mutation stage. And we're finally here, mutating, and very simply defined by the creature's patrilineal and matrilineal lines, simply their dad and mom lines, each with a mutation limit of up to 20. However, it's entirely possible to surpass that 20 limit, and here's how. Begin of course breeding your perfect breeding pair until eventually you obtain a mutation. It's common that your first mutation won't have an apparent colour mutation to set it apart, but you can easily identify if one has by its level. With each mutation your creature will improve by 2 levels, with of course more stat points rolled hopefully into the stat of choice. As we are aiming for health and melee mutations, any other mutations will be discarded as it will get more and more difficult the further you mutate, but once achieved, make it easier on yourself and make sure it's within a male. And now we're simply going to breed that mutated male back to the perfect moms. Weird, I know, but to ensure we can mutate beyond 20 mutations, the most important thing is to keep all mutations on only one parent line. And with males able to breed with multiple females, it will be much easier to use mutated males and your clean females. You can opt to do this the other way, mind mutated females to the clean male, and you likely will, as when breeding the mutated male back to the moms, you have a chance of either getting the mom stats with now an unnecessary mutation, a mutated female to breed back to the clean dad, or eventually, hopefully, another mutation. And with each mutation, once again, you have a chance of it being the one you want, as well as the occasion of it mutating again, but sadly with the clean parent stats. And the further you mutate, the harder it becomes to get the mutated parent stats, as the point difference between that and the clean parent gets further and further away. You may give up and just breed mutations with mutations, but once capped in 20 on both sides, you aren't able to mutate further. The only way to do this is ensuring mutations are kept on one line only, offering you an infinite opportunity to mutate your creatures to not only some fantastic, wonderful colours, but possibly some of the best stats out there, and surely making you a force to reckon with. Thanks all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, comment below, let me know. I really did spend a long time to make sure this was one of the most comprehensive but quick and easy guides to follow. So I hope it was. I hope it was received well. Thanks all for tuning in. My name's Ross Clark. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And as always, peace out.